Hello, my name is Martin Coward, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we gather together every day, Monday through Saturday at noon, to love and support each other through this pandemic. And it's a joy for me to share this time with you and tell you a little bit of what I'm learning about myself and the power of stepping into our contemplative practice, especially now, for guidance and leadership within ourselves and for each other. My ego died this morning again. Hallelujah. I've been practicing, I've been creating a webinar, if you will, called Practicing the Art of Being Present. The Keys to Living a Life of Love, Joy, and Prosperity. Now, the exciting thing about creating a webinar is that I have to walk what I talk about. I have to practice it myself so that I can share what I have. I cannot give to anyone, none of us can, something we don't have. So it's been hey, Michael, nice to see you. It's been a long time. How are you? Glad you're here today. We're talking about our egos and the death of our egos, and when the ego dies, what happens? What comes up? So, as I was sharing earlier, and I'm so glad you came joining me today. As I was sharing with you earlier, I'm creating a webinar called Practicing the Art of Being Present. And I've learned so much about myself because I've been practicing it myself. I was 3 weeks in Puerto Rico, and I've been back here now about almost a week. And as I step more fully into the material that I am talking about, I am more intentional with my own practice. And one of the components of this practice is to be still first thing in the morning. What we do in the first 7 minutes of our day will have an effect on our entire day. And for me, when I wake up in the morning, my eyes open and my ego has a to-do list a mile long. It is ready for me to get busy, to do stuff. Now, to do is the opposite of to be. So what I have learned from this practice is to get up and start my day by getting into being present to that presence within me. I have to take back my day, if you will, from that to-do list, create a new to-do list. And in those 7 minutes have such an impact. So what I do, and I want to make it as easy and as smooth and as welcoming for myself and for others as I possibly can. So the first thing I do, and I recommend other people do, is just to get up and go get a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, get your favorite beverage if you like something in the morning, and just go sit somewhere where you like to sit and look and gaze and be. When I was in Puerto Rico, I like to go sit at the beach. Now that I'm home in Northland, New Jersey, I like to go sit in my garden. And I just notice as I'm sitting there, feeling that sort of gnarly feeling inside of me that I'm not quite good enough, I wake up with that almost every day. That sense of, it's a familiar sort of a sickening feeling inside me that there's something wrong with me. It's kind of a combination of shame and fear and sadness, and it's a yucky feeling, and it's been around forever. Until I got more familiar with it, I used to just want it to go away. But I've learned to feel it and to sit with it and actually allow that to guide me deeper into myself. And I've noticed that as I move into that space, if I actually begin to feel what it feels like to feel that feeling, as yucky as it is, and I'm just sort of looking at all of the beauty of the day, something shifts in me that and I wonder if that's my ego. That's a little mini death every day of my ego. And that we know from all the shadow work and mind work that is how transformation occurs within ourselves. We have a descent into the darkness, and then we have a deconstruction, if you will, of the ego, and then a reconstruction. And I think that this morning for me, and every morning that I do this practice, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, is a daily cycle of that. It's a daily cycle of a deconstruction, of a descent. I feel the darkness and just allow myself to see it, feel it, deconstruct it, question it. Because all of a sudden I begin to notice the birds and the beauty of the world, and just kind of just allow myself to just let go of holding on to that feeling. And all of a sudden I kind of wake up to a different moment. All of a sudden presence becomes present. I find myself into the moment, and all of a sudden the flowers and the garden become more alive. I'm almost like experiencing the essence of it. And I think that that's what we mean. That's what I'm coming to mean as a death of the ego, if you will. It is I'm so present to the moment. And then I go into what I call a yoga routine so I can embody the spirit. But I just think that that's such an incredible way, and I have that essence for the whole day, you know? So I see a number of people who've joined me this morning, this afternoon. I would love it if you just type your name and say hello in the chat box so that I know you're here. I can see numbers, but I like to know your name. I like to know who's actually here with me and sharing it. And also share your thoughts about this. I mean, yesterday we had a wonderful conversation on the same subject, and people had some great ideas. So I'm always grateful if you have some ideas or thoughts about this idea of the death of the ego and being present to a higher source. Because what I would say is that once that yucky, egoic, sort of nasty feeling that I don't like, it sort of dissolves, and it comes into a space of joy, and I realize that how precious life is, and how wonderful and magnificent what we're part of. And that's now I've kind of feel like I'm going out of the driveway, if you will, with holding hands with the universe. I've spent some time with my creator, and we've gotten intimate. I've gotten intimate with that part of myself, and I have a deeper understanding of my purpose. We have to do that over and over and over. That's why we have to have a contemplative practice. Because for me, I've been meditating for over 40 years, and I can tell you, I still wake up in the morning. I keep thinking, when am I ever going to wake up and not have these vultures on my bedpost barking at me in the morning? Probably never, because this seems to be the cycle of the way my day begins, and I have to get the keys back to the bus. It's pretty exciting, and it's just it's a wonderful way to be. It's a wonderful way to spend my day, and now I'm meditating. So I want to read a little bit today from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Presence of Now, practicing the now. Hold on one second here. It comes from his book, The Power of Now, Practicing the Power of Now. And its relationship as spiritual practice. And that's what it is. It's a spiritual practice. Something else occurred to me, because a lot of people say, I'm not spiritual. Well, spiritual was the word we used. We didn't know what energy was back in the day, in the earlier days. They didn't really call things energy. Things that made things happen that they couldn't see or touch or feel with the human mind, they call spirit. Then we call it energy. So when people say, I'm not spiritual, I'm like, well, you're not alive, because you are. You may not be conscious of your spirituality. You know, it's like saying, I'm not energy. You are energy. Everything is energy. There's nothing that doesn't exist that's not energy. Everything is spiritual, really. It's just matter condensed into, it's just vibrations at different levels of frequency. Higher levels of frequency, love, and that kind of stuff vibrate at higher levels. We can't see them. It doesn't mean they don't exist. We all experience love. Both the emotional love and the creative love. Creative love of the universe. We all experience it. We are all co-creators of our own reality. And the choice we get to make is if we're contemplatives is the following. We get to consciously create our future. Repeat that again. By being a contemplative, we can consciously create our future. If it's for the betterment of others. But if it's coming from that creative place within us, it has no other desire. It has no other desire. The ego's to-do list is a list of things it wants to get done for me, to meet my narcissistic needs of the day. More money, more prestige, more power, to be right, all those things. But when I'm plugged into this deeper presence, it's doing the doing. I'm just letting go. It's doing the doing right now. Because my purpose is to share my wisdom with you so that you too can enjoy this life. Not to save you or to fix you, it's just to impart my wisdom with you and the wisdom of others who've taught me. And it's just a much more exciting, it's presence. And it's been handed down, that's the way it works. We to keep it, we have to share it with others. We have to make it part of the world. That's what Eckhart Tolle has to say. Love is a state of being. Your love is not outside, it's deep within you. You can never lose it, and it cannot leave you. It is not dependent on some other body, some external form. And I think that's what rises up. The only thing that can separate you from love is your mind, is your ego, the egoic mind. And we need that to navigate through the world, but we don't need it running the show. We don't need it driving the bus. That's what I'm talking about in the morning, getting up and shifting the driver. The ego wants to wake me up, and it wants to drive the bus out of the driveway. In my heart, my essence, my presence wants the keys back. And I'm going to have a much more exciting day when I'm that. Dissolving the pain body. The greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. As long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it's some form of negativity. This morning for me, for example, it was my ego's to-do list. On the emotional level, it was that icky, sicky feeling. So I knew that I was in a place of, I was unawake. I was unconscious to a higher level of consciousness that's within me. I was separated from it, and I needed to get back into that flow. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of the resistance to the present moment. And this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind is always seeking to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you're going to suffer. Or you may put it like this. The more you honor, the more you're able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain and of suffering and free of the egoic mind. Like Jesus said, the truth will set you free. This is what he was talking about. The truth will set you free, free from the fear and the suffering of the egoic mind. Some spiritual teachings state that all pain is ultimately an illusion, and this is true. The question is it true for you? Is an illusion for you? Yes, it is, and no, it's not. This morning, I was clearly feeling pain. I was feeling negative thoughts, negative feelings, and I was in pain. Not tremendous pain, but I was in pain. However, when I sat down and let it go, questioned it, the illusion went away. But as long as the illusion was there, it didn't feel like an illusion. A mere belief does not make it true. It doesn't make it, I can't simply believe, I can't spiritually bypass and say, oh my gosh, I don't really feel pain right now. I'm feeling pain. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm feeling depressed. I'm sad. I'm attacking myself. I'm telling myself I'm worthless. I mean, that feels bad. That was real. That was this morning at 6 o'clock when I woke up. So it didn't feel like an illusion, but it was. I had to do the practice to get through it. Do you want to experience the pain for the rest of your life and keep saying that it's an illusion? That's called spiritual bypassing. That's saying I don't really feel. And Ken Wilber said you gotta transcend and include the lower parts of ourselves. You know, so when I'm waking up in that. And Ken Wilber talks about this. He talks about waking up what he calls the gross, and what Eckhart calls the pain body. We wake up in the pain body. We're not there. We're not there yet. And there's no illusion. I'm experiencing it in that moment. That's what I'm experiencing. And I want to get free from it. I want to be free from it. I don't want to feel pain. I want to feel joy. What we're concerned with here is how can you realize the truth? How can this truth set you free? That is, make it real in your. How do you make it real in your own experience? Pain is inevitable as long as you are identified with your mind, which is to say, as long as you are unconscious, as long as you're unaware that you're spiritual. If you think you're this separate thing called Martin, and that's all there is, and I'm that, there's nothing more. I'm unconscious. I'm unconscious of my true nature, spiritually speaking. I'm talking here primarily of emotional pain, which is also the main cause of physical disease, physical pain and physical disease. Resentment, hatred, self-pity, guilt, anger, depression, jealousy, and so on. Even the slightest irritation, like complaining, they're all forms of pain. Think about complaining. You know, complaining. It's just not quite right. I'm at the beach, but there's just not enough breeze. I'm enjoying this beautiful day, but it's just, I got to do something I don't want to do. You know, it's just complaining. I have to wash the dishes. I want a nice meal, but I got to wash the dishes. What if I quit complaining and enjoy washing the dishes? You got me shift. I get to enjoy the experience of washing the dishes versus struggling resenting it and being angry about it, all those kind of things don't do us any good. And every pleasure or emotional high contains within it some seed of pain. The contrast, you see. This morning I had to sit through pain. It was sitting through the pain that created the seed, the birth, you will, the reconstruction of the truth. Because of the contrast, I was able to experience the difference and experience presence within me. I'll read that up again. And every pleasure or emotional high contains within itself the seed of pain. It is its inseparable opposite, which will manifest in time. Pretty powerful, right? I love it. Anyway, let's do a little meditation here today. Turn off the ringer so I don't get any ringing. And let's meditate. Allow the sound of the bell, the vibration of the bell to take you a little bit deeper. You might start with just putting your hands up in the air for a second and being still. But what was the energy that lifted your hands? What is the energy holding your hands up? Yes, it's your muscles. But without a life force energy inside of us, within us, we could not raise our hands. The muscles would not work. The spark of life would not be present. And that's what we're talking about. The spark of, you can have ears and you can have eyes and you can have a mouth, but you can't hear, see, or talk without the spark of life. So we bring that spark of life, and so much is going on unconsciously, which is good. We don't want to think about everything we do. But when we meditate, we do. We want to bring everything into consciousness, into the moment. One place of love and gratitude. So allow your mind to get still. And you're going to notice that as you get still, thoughts are going to come up. Ideas, solutions, obsessions. That's fine. That's what our minds are. But for right now, the invitation is to just let them go. Maybe just like clouds in the sky. Oh, there's a cloud. You don't fight it. You don't resist it. You just let it float by. The key is not to not think, because you can't stop thinking. The key is to not attach yourself to the thinking. You just simply notice it, be the witness, if you will. Notice the silence and the pause that I take. And notice how your mind begins to wonder, what's Martin going to say next? Doesn't matter. Let it go. And be still in the pauses. Just be still. Your minds want to do what minds do. They think. Minds love to think. That's their job. Just ask it to take a little vacation for a few minutes. Thank you for the thought and let it go. Allow the sound of the bell to wake you up from your trance and reset. And allow the vibration to take you deeper within inside yourself. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. How are you feeling? The presence come alive? Did you wake up to the truth? Are you free? Are you free from the pain body and the egoic mind? It takes practice. It takes practice. For me, after 40 years of meditation and contemplative prayer, there are days when I have a hard time myself. I will say it's much easier today than it was. And with COVID-19, I am forced into more physical isolation. And what I have chosen to do at that time is to get to know me better. And that's what we do here. We get to know ourselves. We get to know the truth of who and what we are. And when we discover that, we discover we have a purpose. And there is nothing in this world that can keep us from living our purpose, except one thing: the ego. As long as you're trapped in the drum, it's very difficult to live your life in truth, who you are authentically. I know, I try. It doesn't work. It's miserable. So the invitation is to quit. Let it all go. And be present to the truth of who and what you are. There is nothing to look for. It's like Dorothy in those red slippers. She already had it. She was already home. Everything else was an illusion. Thank you for joining me today. May love and prosperity prevail. Thank you.